got something a little bit special and different here. Got an Old Man Orange Presents with VIA VHS. Kind of a special episode, putting it up before the holidays end. Here it comes. So yeah, let's get into it.
So welcome to another episode of the VIA VHS podcast. I'm your host, Wesley. And as always, I'm joined with Spencer Scott Holmes. First of all, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. We're going to have a little holiday fun here, I think.
Oh, we're about to get festive, jolly, all of those things. 2020 has been a real kick in the dick, as they say. And it's been, Spencer and I are gluttons for punishment, obviously. And we're like, what other way to close out this magnificent year, to just go through this holidays of 2020 and just encapsulate everything that was 2020. And the best way to do that, obviously, is watching the Star Wars holiday special. I'm excited about this one. Are you excited about talking about this one?
Dude, I'm so excited about talking about this. You know what I mean? This movie's fun in all the weird ways.
Understatement of the year. Right here at the tail end of 2020. It's one of those, like, pretty much any big, whether it be a movie podcast, movie YouTube channel, both, which we are. This is kind of a prerequisite. It's something that a lot of people do. Because I think for a couple reasons. One, obviously it's this huge blight on this massive, marketing juggernaut machine thing that is Star Wars. And so it's really interesting because of that, but also because before the internet, and really it didn't really resurface heavily until around when Force Awakens was being developed. This was kind of like something that not a lot of people knew. It was like an insider thing. It was like this almost taboo thing where it's just, this egregious thing that Star Wars did. And so everybody wants to talk about it. So I guess we're just going to, throw ourselves into that pool.
Exactly. Well, it's that one that, like, you hear about, like, your entire life. I just remember even being, like, in grade school, and someone would bring it up, be like, my dad said that there was this, like, Star Wars special that came out in, like, 78 back in the day. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was one of those legends that just always sort of existed. And I guess realistically, I mean, in the olden days, sort of like let's just say pre-internet's, like, easily available, and, YouTube and things like that. It was almost like you had to go to, like, a Comic-Con and find that guy, which I love how even at Comic-Cons this day and age, you still find there's that guy who just has all the bootleg, like, VHS still. Like, it's like he's not giving up his gig and so on. And obviously he must be still making money, but that was the guy that you'd have to go to because he just taped all this. He probably just had, like, one of those people or he had one of those families that had a VCR, like, right off the bat, so they taped, like, everything, and now he's just making copies, and he didn't realize, his father told him that he was never going to have a job copying VHSs and making a living, but look at me now, Dad!
I'm the #1 world distributor of the Star Wars holiday special. Suck it, Dad.
You can't take that away from me, Dad! But it's like I think that's what made it so hard to kind of see for the longest time. I mean, like nowadays it's like, okay, cool, somebody uploads it on YouTube, and so when I think it used to have a hard time at first, like it'd kind of get uploaded and then get taken off. But
well, somebody commented on the video. I'm sure we watched the same thing on YouTube, and it was somebody commented that Disney doesn't take the copyright down for this because they don't want to admit they own it. Which is probably really true.
Yeah, you never know, but that might be the case.
Yeah, it's almost like this taboo secret thing. It was just this. It had this mystique to it, and now everybody's talked about it. Everybody knows about it. I mean, there's memes all the time on Twitter being shared or GIFs, I should say, of especially the Lumpy's the kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he always just has because he has those weird close shots.
Yeah. I mean, it's a well-known thing, but it's always really fun to talk about because everybody has different takes on it. And knowing you and I will kind of dive deep into the mindset of what caused this to happen, because it's just like Star Wars. First of all, and I think this will be the place to start. is, Star Wars is not shy about marketing itself on anything. Like, there's no shame. I remember during Force Awakens when it came out, there was like Star Wars. They put like Star Wars stuff on like fruit, like packaging.
Yeah.
Like it's like a bag of oranges, but I had Star Wars, but they're Star Wars oranges, guys.
You know what?
These are Star Wars
that's
figurines.
a very Disney thing, though, because Disney will do that for not only just Star Wars, but you always see like Mickey Mouse slapped on all kinds of like, oh, it's like goofy carrots and so on. It's like such a weird place to be at.
Damn it. Now, I really shouldn't have named this podcast VIA VHS anymore. It should have been Goofy Carrots.
Goofy Carrots Podcast. But yeah, it's like Disney just kind of realized they're like, you know what? Every day, somebody's got to get some vegetables and whatnot. So, you know what? Slap a Mickey Mouse on there, slap a Star Wars logo, slap a Marvel one on there. Doesn't matter. Guess what?
Yeah,
as they're sitting there eating their carrots, they're going to be like, I should watch some Disney Plus right now. And we got them.
Yeah, and some, migrant worker in wherever, Florida or some other place, they're not getting any of that Star Wars money. So
I kid you not, though. Disney probably could do really well by if you would just take this holiday special and just own it, and then make like a definitive like Blu-ray special edition version, put it out there, in
4K.
Yeah, like I bet you could make a buttload more money off this, because that'd be
Star Wars. Yeah.
Oh, people would. Every Star Wars fan would have to own it, but then there'd be all those people be like, "What's this?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say, if you're in the mind of Bob Iger or whoever's Chapek. Chapek now runs Disney. I can't remember. I think he's Bob also. I think it's Bob Chapek.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. I think he would say things like, probably not good for the brand. It really doesn't, correlate with the Disney brand identity, or some BS PR stuff like that. But really, what it is just everybody's embarrassed by it, and probably for extremely good reason.
It doesn't seem as goofy, I guess, if you take it back in time. I mean, like, it's still goofy. Let's not argue with that part. But, like, when you could just kind of compare it to, like, just other, like, weird 70s TV shows at the time, you're like, it kind of fits sort of right in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of fit into an extent, but at the same time, like I was talking about with the marketing, the reason I brought that up is because Disney definitely isn't, Star Wars, its history, Lucasfilm all the way back in the day, is not scared to put their name on anything.
Yeah.
Is not scared to market anything related to Star Wars oranges, Star Wars underwear, Star Wars cereal, whatever it is. So the fact that this was like this hidden thing, and George Lucas has quotes of saying, if I had time and a hammer, I'd track down every copy and smash it. That's his personal quote about it. When you add all those things together, it's got this mystique to it. It's really, really interesting, and it's a fun thing to look back on. And I think I was going into it with the mindset, oh, okay, this is going to be like The Room, where it's so bad that it's good, kind of thing, and it's really not. It's just bad. It's terrible. So I guess we'll kind of dive into to all that. But I think it's important to know George Lucas, from a artistic standpoint, had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, well, he did write the animated segment that I think they just kind of. Okay. So that part I know he did, and I think it's one of those ones he had ideas. He was just like, I want to see a full on Wookiee special. No, nobody else there. There's a bunch of Wookiees running around. You know what I mean? Because George likes those kind of characters. He likes the Wookiees. He likes the Jar Jars. He likes the the comedic droids and so on. And I think that's what he wanted. And then he was like, "Oh, I gotta go make Empire Strikes Back. So whatever, guys. You figure it out."
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you arguably, we can have a debate about this another time, but the two best Star Wars movies, the two best pieces of content, and I would throw Mandalorian in there now, for Star Wars is A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Like, we all had different opinions on it, but if you were taking a collective poll and aggregate it, those two would probably be the top two movies.
Yeah.
And this comes right in between those, and it's just what happened, because it's just it's such a shit show. It is such an enormous shit show, and you can't exaggerate it enough how just messy it is. It's really, 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 really embarrassing.
Well, and I think what it was is it's like the many things that like I think just the average, the average public, Fox probably and all that stuff are like, okay, this is sort of like a flash in the pan. We got to capitalize on this hardcore because here's the thing: when 1980 rolls around, ain't nobody gonna remember what Star Wars is. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of like they're like, let's do it because you see that with a lot of things. I'll use other example is like remember when South Park came out, like how hard Comedy Central like doubled down on South Park from those first couple of seasons. They went hard. I mean, there was merchandise and there was games and all this stuff, and you're like, dude, that's all tied off of like one or two seasons. That's it. There was a movie. It's like they just said like, shit, we got something that's making us a ton of money, and who knows how long it's going to last. Lo and behold, it's still going. But I think a lot of times
Star Wars.
Yeah, or Pokemon's another example too. Yeah. Like they went so hard on the marketing and stuff because I think they just didn't think it was going to last that long, and then once again, 25 years later, it's still trucks along. But what if it was one of those? What if it was like Pogs? You know what I mean? And like it had its moment, and just that was it.
Fidget spinners. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, or Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. Honestly. What? Avatar I felt got kind of shot. They shot themselves in the foot. They should have just had those movies come out like only like 3 years later, and then because by the time the next one ever comes out, they're not even gonna know what it is. Like, what the fuck's an Avatar?
Hey man, listen, James Cameron's got some ocean to explore. Okay, he's got to go out there. He's got some trenches. He's got to find some shit. So that's why I'm convinced that all 3 Avatar movies are going to be just in the water, like all of them. But or however many there are, there's a lot of them that are coming out. But I've always kind of thought the holiday special, what the idea was, and you kind of hit it on the head. It's like, especially in the 80s and 90s, this makes more sense. In the context of the day, it's a little different with streaming. But back in the day, big artist comes out. I'll use Michael Jackson for an example, okay? So he had been out for a while, but Thriller comes out, and it's just massive, okay? Just absolutely huge. And making tons of money, biggest album of all time. But now you got a subsequent tour. Now you got all this other stuff before you can start working on the next album. And by the time you get through the tour, put the next album together, it's been a few years, right? So you got to keep things hot. You got to keep yourself in the public conscious for the people who aren't going to the concerts. What do? Well, you release a single with Paul McCartney. Yeah. And you release this little one-off thing, and wow, there's a hit, cool. Maybe sing the hook to some Rockwell song or something. Just little things to kind of keep yourself out there. And so I think that's what the idea was with this. It's like, okay, well, we got a while before Empire Strikes Back comes out. Maybe we need to do a thing. But one, this was Christmas of '78, so Christmas of '77 was a kind of a shit show because they didn't have enough action figures for everybody. Right? So like they had to do all the IOUs. So now this is the second Christmas with Star Wars, but now it's not as fresh. Now you need another thing. Hey, we need to do even better in the Christmas of '78, And I think that was a big part of it too. Why this exists.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's kind of it is. It's like one of those ones like, hey, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to put that little like in between piece before Empire comes out. Make sure that people still like are like thinking about Star Wars. There'll be like a giant advertising campaign. Because it'd be it'd be interesting to see like the VHS copy. I'd love to see the commercials that ran in between it. You know what I mean? Because like that would almost be very interesting. It's like, okay, because there had been some real big commercials thrown in there. This was made to sell shit.
Oh yeah, they knew everybody's going to turn into. I meant to look at the ratings. Did you happen to look and see what the ratings happen to be for this?
No, I didn't see what that was.
I'll look at that because I'm very curious as we're going along. But so I guess we'll kind of highlight what the special is. We know we have our opinions on why it exists, and I think they're pretty obvious ones. But what it is a variety show, which is the dumbest idea in the history of ideas. It's just plus, first of all, the variety that you're getting is not very good.
There's not enough variety. I think that was my thing. As I was going into it, I was expecting more of a variety show, and I'm like, well, realistically, it's more just like the Wookiee home life. Like that's like 90% of the story, and then there's these other just little cutaways here and there. and that's kind of about it, you know. For the most part, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that Wookiee part was so much. Like, my favorite part too is I just was thinking is like the first 20 minutes of it. There's literally like no like English dialogue. It's just literally like Wookiees just going, you know, the whole time. And all I pictured, I was laughing so hard because I just pictured like my grandpa sitting there like going, well, here's a Star Wars thing, and just probably sitting there for 20 minutes being like, the fuck is this? I went to World War II, and this is what everybody's into? Like, oh, that's all I can really think about, because it's like, it reminded me of, like, I'm going to use Pokemon again, but Pokemon the first movie, like, when you went to go see that movie in theaters, there's, like, Pikachu's Island. It's, like, the first, like, it's probably only, like, 12 minutes, but I feel to an adult it's going to feel like it's super long. And all it is just all the Pokemon running around, and they're all just like, Pika Pika, Pika Pika, chow, 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 Bulbasaur, Bulbasaur. And it's just like, you know, the parents just going like, what's going on? I don't, you know? And then I just feel like it goes to like, it cuts the credits just for a moment for like the Pikachu thing. And you know, a lot of parents are like, oh, jeez, boy, that hour and a half just flew on by. I thought we were going to be saying like, oh, there's another movie.
What?
And that's what I felt like the Star Wars special was, is someone just watching this Chewbacca thing, you know, the Chewbacca Wookiee family. It's just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, there had to be a small group of the people that watched this that thought, or didn't know much about Star Wars and thought, I'm never watching any of this again. And that's probably why, my end canon theory is that this is why Empire Strikes Back didn't make as much money as A New Hope, even though it was better, is because this little blight, this little chink in the armor that is the Star Wars Holiday Special. I mean, it does open with, the opening is actually decent.
Oh yeah, actually the straight opening is, you know what? Because Harrison Ford, I'm gonna say this: Harrison Ford, every time he's in it, he sells it. Boy, does he comes in and he like
surprisingly,
yeah, like every part he's in, it's like, dude, he's like, I think it's once he realizes it's crap, he's like, there's no way I'm gonna be crap.
It's really surprising because he's so grumpy and so just. But I saw the Red Letter Media review of this. They pointed out that there's this one moment towards the end. I think it's at the Life Day thing when they're all wearing the red. The Chewbacca's all wearing the red. The Wookiees all wearing the red stuff. Mm-hmm. That there's this one part where when Carrie Fisher's singing and it just zooms in on Harrison's face and he's like, what the hell did I get myself into? Like I've got 2 more of these movies. Somebody's killing me in one of these movies. I'm dying in Empire. That's it. I'm dying. But little did he know. Yeah. So it opens with Han Solo and Chewbacca, and it's all about Life Day, which they call back to in the first episode of Mandalorian, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to get home to Life for Life Day, so I guess it's like their Christmas in the Star Wars universe. I don't know much else about it.
Yeah, it's got to be. I'm thinking it's like a Wookiee, like Kashyyyk, like holiday more than anything. But I guess it's celebrated everywhere. Yeah,
I'm sure there's some big write-up on Wikipedia about it, about what this is. I'm sure there's somebody's out there a really detailed expose on Life Day, especially now since it's been in Mandalorian too. So now it's canon.
Yeah,
Life Day is now canon again. And I think in the new holiday special, did you watch that?
No, you mean the Lego one?
Yeah.
Well, I bet you that one might be pretty fun because they probably could really utilize and kind of own that holiday special and just make it just like a good old time.
I watched the bits and pieces of it. It was okay. It wasn't that funny. But I think that's about Life Day too. I think that the whole premise is Life Day. So they brought that back. Mm-hmm. So it's like, now it's a canon thing. It's this Life Day. So Star Wars can't escape the holiday special even if it wants to now. But so yeah, it opens up with Han Solo and Chewbacca, and it's pretty standard Star Wars. And you have some of that sprinkled in. Darth Vader walking through hallways. You got some of the John Williams score in there. And so you had this little just tiny fleeting glimpses of that Star Wars magic. But everything in between that's, Carrie Fisher coked out, Mark Hamill's face.
Yeah, Mark Hamill,
and just a bunch of Wookiee noises, and it's just a blur of just bad decisions.
I really want to know, why Mark Hamill was just so dolled up in the makeup department there.
Oh, I know why.
Was this with the accident? Because I didn't think that was till later on. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking that was later, is why it was. So that's what threw me off.
Yeah, I think now I might be wrong on this. I would have to. Would definitely correct us. Some like Star Wars aficionado. This is probably on Wikipedia too. But his accident, if I'm not mistaken, happened before A New Hope came out. So it was in post production when he
Really?
wrecked.
Yeah,
I
see,
think.
I always thought this whole time it was after Empire, before, like in the in between that and Jedi.
Well, it technically was in terms of making it. I might be wrong about that. It might have been a little after A New Hope came out, but it was not long. I'm pretty confident on that. It was. He wasn't Mark Hamill. Yeah, he wasn't like super well known. Like he was the guy from Corvette Summer that like 10 people knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely was why he was so dolled up in this. And I mean, his face, he looks really gaunt too, to an extent.
Yeah.
It look kind of it's not just the makeup, it's his everything looks just kind of off. And I'm not trying to be mean about it. Obviously he went through something, but it is really jarring because they put a lot of makeup on him. He looks like he's going to be in Peter Pan actually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Because it's like, God, like Mark Hamill looks more feminine than like Carrie Fisher does in this.
He looks like what's that guy, the other Hamill, the figure skater?
Oh yeah.
The Hamill. He looks like that Hamill.
Yeah, that's totally what I felt like. It was just because it just shows his face, especially like when it starts off and he kind of looks. He's like, "Hey, Mark Hamill," and you're like, "Whoa." You know what I mean?
Like, whoa, dude, tone that down.
Yeah,
tone that down. He should have grown a beard.
Yeah, that would have been. That's probably one of those weird marketing things. Be like, whoa, Luke Skywalker doesn't have a beard now. You know what I mean? That'd be like when George Lazenby was like, finished wrapping up 007. You want me to come do what now? This TV special? Whatever. And he's just got this huge beard and long hair. And they're like, well, that's not what 007's supposed to go around like. You did one movie. He's like, whatever. I don't care. I do what I want. I'm George Lazenby.
Oh, man. Yeah, they honestly should have, because he did grow a nice beard later on. Mm-hmm. So they should have invested. They should have just told him, because there's that whole rumor, too, about the Empire Strikes Back. That's the reason the Wampa attacks him at the beginning, was to make an excuse for why the face looks different in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Was because of that. I don't know how. George Lucas denies that. I feel like there's some truth to that, honestly. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but that seems accurate.
Well, it feels like one of those ones, they're like, you know what? If anybody starts to really kind of question it, we got, like, in a sense, like, material to kind of say why he might, look different. I feel like it's one of those ones. If they don't say anything, that's okay. They'll just enjoy the scene. But if not, like, hey, we got some canon we can block up with it.
Yeah, it's really, the whole thing is really, really odd, but he's definitely, I don't feel like he should be on camera at this point because he doesn't seem himself either. Mm-hmm. But who really does in this mess?
Just Han Solo, ironically enough.
Yeah, ironically enough.
Like if you just edited all the Han Solo scenes together for like a 6 minutes of glory or whatever, I kid you not, you'd watch that and be like, dude, I don't know what you guys are complaining about. Then like the Han Solo stuff's great.
Yeah, the Han Solo stuff's great. The Chewbacca stuff's great.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, so he does well. Mark Hamill looks messed up. And then there's Carrie Fisher, who, from the very moment you see her, like when they're doing the introductions at the beginning, her eyes aren't even completely open. Like, she's understandably drugged out. Yeah, I don't blame her.
She's like too deep in the 70s.
Yeah, she was. Well, I mean, you want me to sing what? You want me to do what at the end of the day? You want me to sing? Yeah, she's like, I need all the drugs for this. So
if Mark Hamill's gonna get one of each action figure, I want one of each drug.
Yes. Oh my God, she took advantage. Isn't it Empire Strikes Back? You see her coke nail, like she's got her hand on I think Harrison Ford's shoulder, and the
one nail's just longer.
It's the still image, and you can see her fingernails like that long cocaine fingernail.
Which probably in like the re-releases, it's trimmed back.
Yeah, Disney had to go in there. Oh, gosh, we need to get rid of it. I don't know why George Lucas is here, but he is. But he's like, yeah, we got to get rid of the cocaine fingernail. If you guys could just do that. But he probably left that in the special editions and added all the other things he added in there. But oh God,
or you go with what you're gonna say first.
No. I was just going to kind of transition into, so we've got the main stars, and then I guess everything other than that is the Wookiees and variety, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, I just love the idea that Chewbacca has this fully functional family. He's got a wife, he's got a grandpa, or I guess his dad, and he's got a son and all this stuff. And it's just like the whole idea, like, when you just think about it, it's like, and what's he doing? He's out there hanging with like a smuggler, just like, like one of those ones, like, is this like True Lies? And like, he comes home and they're like, oh, where were you at, Chewbacca? It's just like, oh, just down at the old accounting office and so on, down here
I'm
at
in
Kashyyyk.
shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Just one of those ones, but like, no, what he's doing is he's out there just like running drugs with fucking Han Solo.
Running that spice.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like working for Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, we just, it's been, this quarter's been off, guys. It's been a little rough, and he's just giving all this business jargon, but meanwhile, he's out there ripping droids' arms off and, doing whatever he does with Han Solo.
I just started. I was trying to think. I'm like, okay, so we got Revenge of the Sith. I was trying to really place like where this was. Okay, like at some point, he gets a family. Well, then again, Wookiees are so like old. So I mean, like this family could have been there forever. Like, you know what I mean? Like we could go to like the Han Solo movie, and when he meets him there, like it'd be one of those ones when he's in prison. Like he probably had the family already at that point.
Oh yeah,
like that's where I started thinking. It's just like this family's probably always there, and like what they gotta stop? They just stop by once in a blue moon, like every like on the holiday season.
Yeah, it's what when you're explaining it like this, the whole family, the baby element, all the silliness, it shows you just how fine of a line there. I mean, a very fine line between absolutely atrociously terrible, mind-numbingly stupid content versus The Mandalorian. Because if you, like, for example, so like if you're putting The Mandalorian on paper and then this on paper, just the plot of it, not the variety stuff, but like, oh, Han Solo's got to get him home to Life Day, and the Empire gets involved, and they're like looking around Kashyyyk for whatever. It sounds interesting.
It actually sounds really cool when you explain it like that.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. But then you get this, and then it's weird. And then you could alternately say, oh, well, this show's about a Mandalorian, and he finds a baby Yoda creature, and he's basically paying like babysitter through the universe, and people could say, whoa, that sounds horrible. It sounds like a holiday special. So you can make one sound cool and one sound lame, but one really is cool and one really is lame, and it's such a fine line between the two. It's so weird to me how that exists. You know what I mean? It's so bizarre.
Well, you know what's weird? Because it almost has that feeling like that the Chewbacca family life was supposed to almost be like a sitcom, but it's missing like the jokes and it's missing like the laugh tracks. I feel like they should just have them like speaking in Wookiee and then just have laugh tracks come in there. So it's one of those ones that confuse the older man even more. The World War II people just like. There's a laugh track, but he doesn't know what they're really laughing at. Like it's just going on and on. It's just like, but it's like it's missing that. Like it needs to have that full sitcom feel. I think that's what they need to go with, because without like the laugh tracks and so on, you're like it has that weird feeling. Like, is this supposed to be serious? Or is this supposed to be goofy? I'm not really too sure.
The tone is off, and it is weird because they do these things like with Friends. I've seen little clips where they play it without the laugh track, and the tone totally changes. And you're right; it should have had. I mean, it's already batshit crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's already out of the verse because you have variety stuff in it. I don't understand why a laugh track would have been so non-canon at this point. Because what this could have been, honestly, like you're looking at it, like in Force Awakens would have benefited from this because the time changes so much. What this could have been was an awesome. Okay, A New Hope ends. But we know they're going to be in Hoth on the next one. We've got that part written. We've got that part figured out. Maybe we do just like a little mini TV special with one setting where they stop on a planet, the Wookiee planet, and something happens and the Empire finds them out and they're hiding, and the Wookiees try to help them hide and escape before the Empire finds out they're there so they can get onto a Hoth or wherever the fuck they're going. Or, just whatever reason. And it could have been just like a really quick thing. 45 minutes, episode of Mandalorian, essentially. I mean, obviously, hindsight, but
yeah,
could have been a cool thing if they would have added all this other stuff in it, and maybe somebody just wrote an actual story instead of Wookiees watching porn, things like that.
Yeah, well, that's like the weird thing about it. It's like, yeah, in hindsight, it kind of is, but it's like, and I know it's the reason why it's probably so extended was the fit in more commercials. I feel like that's the only reason why it's so long, because I feel even if you took what there was and you cut it down to 45 minutes, it would be way more easy to take in. You know what I mean? You just kept all the good stuff. You kept all what good stuff there is, but the more entertaining stuff. Let me just say that kind of thing. Yeah. You put that there. You just took out some of the weirder scenes that are in there and so on. That's or like the ones that's like there's a part when like Chewbacca's wife is like she's doing the cooking show thing, watching that, and they just got they got one of those like comedian guys that like probably wasn't even funny back in the day, almost to play, and it's just like. That part right there is the one where you're just like, what am I watching? Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I was sold with the intro, and then you got me watching the stupidest cooking-looking show I've ever seen.
And it lasts forever.
Yeah, and it goes on like 10 minutes. Probably not that long, but it sure felt like it.
It sure felt like it. Yeah, none of the variety I thought was good. The Diane Cannon song was interesting.
But it's that part's even so 70s, like disco dancey weird.
Yeah, disco dancey weird is a great way to explain it, because isn't that what the grandpa's watching when he puts on the goggle things?
No, because that's what Chewbacca's wife's watching. Like, because like when there's that guy who's like, oh, I'm the traitor, and oh yeah, I love working here on Kashyyyk, and blah 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 blah. Here you guys go, brought you in the old presents, like I'm Santa Claus or something.
Yeah, they're basically it's just this one guy and showing them various TV screens so they can show another variety thing. They just, hey, here's your new TV hanging out here in Kashyyyk. Watch this horrible gymnastic routine or whatever.
Well, and it's weird too, because like that guy, like it's like that guy reminds me of one of those guys. It's like he got in the tech selling business, but he knows absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and he's probably been working it for like 20 years. That's the worst part. And it's like he barely knows how to turn a TV on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was really cringy. Everything about that guy is cringy. The whipster situation's cringy. Whipster.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing. And then it's like starts pounding it. It's like, gotta do it on beat. And you're like, what the shit am I watching? Though I will say, you know what's weird though? I was looking at Chewbacca's wife's TV that she's watching it on. Like that TV is very, very futuristic looking. That looks like a TV from like nowadays almost. Like I was just like, it was in widescreen and it was flat and it was like one of those ones you're like, oh, that's like a foretelling. Like, you know what I mean? Like nobody would have made a TV like that, even in a sci-fi thing back then. That was like the weirdest thing I thought about that. I was like, whoa, that TV did not look like it was from there.
Yeah, maybe this is just like George from the far future, even from now, just senile and projecting his thoughts back in time. I saw somebody write that this is what Han Solo was dreaming about when he was in Carbonite.
He's just like one of those ones like, I had to go visit Chewbacca's family one time, and oh jeez.
Yeah, turns into some weird fever dream. Yeah, but that was really cool. There was some interesting things in there, and there was like interesting future flash forward moments. And there was, like I said before, fleeting moments of relevancy. The Darth Vader. I mean, everybody was there. James Earl Jones doing the voice. They're in authentic looking Star Wars Empire hallway, like it's actual pieces from the set. You could tell. Mm-hmm. I mean, so some parts of it are good, but then you know what Star Wars needs. More B. Arthur. That's what we need here.
Yeah, that part's even that almost might be the weirder. I don't know what's weirder, either that the cooking show or when she's at like Mos Eisley like running a bar. She almost just feels like she's trying to get laid there, but nobody cares. They're like, oh, you're all old, and we just want free beer.
Yeah, honestly, looking back, I know time frame wise, this doesn't fit because this wouldn't be something you'd do until probably about 3 years after a movie came out. But they should have just put the damn thing like A New Hope on television. Just like remind people, hey, here's A New Hope, sell commercials. I mean, the ratings for that just a year after would have been insane.
You know what would have been the thing to do? 'Cause I just watched this version because I saw that it was out on Blu-ray. I'm like, why do I not own this? I own like the 4-disc version of Superman, the 70s version. It doesn't have the TV version, but I found there's like one where like in the 70s, right around the same time period when Superman was put on TV, they threw in almost in a sense like the extended kind of deleted scenes and so on. Mm-hmm. So it made the movie like 3 hours long because they broke it up into like 3 different days or something like that. You know, I mean, the fit commercials and what have you. That's almost, it sounds weird, but they almost should have did A New Hope and threw some extra extended scenes in there and made it just kind of special like that way. That would have been kind of cool. Or even throw in, like, I'll say this sounds weird, play A New Hope and maybe during like the middle of it, like the halftime show or something, you have like maybe some weird goofy skits. You know, just something maybe a little extra, but like it doesn't.
The intermission.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of cool things they could have done. You could have. I mean, A New Hope doesn't have too many deleted scenes. Pretty much everything that if I remember correctly from A New Hope that's deleted is the Biggs Darklighter stuff. Yeah. But they definitely could have filmed a few things or just extended the Jabba the Hutt scene.
Yeah, well, I'll even say this, you know, there probably is, it's sitting in George Lucas's, like, office where there's some extra stuff that might have been, like, you know, there, but, like, you know, more just extra lines. Nothing probably too special, but, you know, just enough that you could say, hey, there's an extra 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that would have sold it, too. That would have definitely sold it. It's, well, you know, as we know now, the original cuts of the movies, they just don't exist. All there is the special editions, you know.
Well, unless you got them on VHS. Or Laserdisc, or if you got them on DVD.
True. He said, George says the masters of the originals don't exist anymore. It's just the specials. I do not believe that. He's got them locked up. They belong to just him. He has them in his CD basement with a bunch of Diet Coke cans, and he just watches the originals. And he's got the extended cut of the holiday special that nobody knows about with all the good stuff in it.
Yeah, you know. But, you know, beyond all, like, the kind of weird stuff, though, I will say the one, like, really saving grace out of everything in the holiday special, though, is that animated segment is really cool, actually. It's weird and bizarre, but it's an animation kind of part. It's like, I thought that was, like, I'm like, oh, this is cool, and I like the weird kind of, like, 70s hippie kind of animation take on it. It's got, like, the Mobius look to it. It feels like a proto-heavy metal movie.
Yeah. It looks... I personally don't like the animation in it, especially like some of the. It looks like caricatures that you'd get like at a theme park. To an extent, it has an odd look to it, but it is pretty cool. And then you get to see, you know, that Mandalorian weapon he has that Boba Fett has is the future thing that he has, the gun.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those ones like yeah, it's weird. It's like experimental animation, but I feel like that makes it kind of neat. Like, I would love to see either a full-length movie made in that style, like, you know, back then, or even like a TV series looking like that. And it's like the whole thing is it's got the original voice actors, you know, playing all the characters and so on. Like, I feel that animated segment is special. Like, that's almost a part you could chop that out, throw it on a New Hope special edition DVD, and forget the rest of it. And I think that would be kind of cool to have.
Oh yeah, well, and you know, that's the first real. Originally, that's the first introduction to Boba Fett, because he wasn't a New Hope, but that was cut out and then put back into special editions. So, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I don't know. I think just in the context of everything else, it just gets lost at all the mess, and it's just, oh my gosh. But it's a Han Solo Carbonite fever dream, man. What do you want? So yeah, basically, I can't even remember how the Empire ends up in this situation.
Well, they go there. I love because there's that one guy in the Empire like screen. He's all like, "We're at Kazoo," and you know that was one of those ones that like someone looked at the script and it said Kashyyyk, and you know, let's say if nobody pronounces that name for you, it is an odd looking term. You know, what I mean, it's got 3 S's in it and like, you know, whatnot, and that just reminds me like when someone's like, well, "What's it say here, Kashyyyk?" I'm calling it Kazoo.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just that's now the new in canon name for and they leave those things in there. Like, which movie is it? A New Hope, where he calling them Princess Leia.
Oh yeah.
Or Empire. I don't care, maybe it's
One,
Return of the Jedi.
one of those. But you know what? I'll say this. I could even see an old guy in the Empire just being like, what planet we're going? Kashyyyk? Whatever, it's just the Kazoo people to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Didn't we enslave them all? Like in the third movie?
But that reminds me, though, of something I thought about. This is bullshit to me. Okay. So why do the excuse for Ewoks... George's excuse for Ewoks in Return of the Jedi is he wanted to go to the Wookiee planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to do Wookiees, which would have been way more interesting, a battle of Wookiees versus, the Empire, and there's these warriors, But it's too expensive. So you got Ewoks. But you can have all these Wookiees in this shit. There's some redundancy in that. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I don't know where, the too expensive. I mean, literally you're just buying, 3 times the size outfits. Nothing. Endor literally could be Kashyyyk, you know what I mean? What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, it really, I don't understand what the big deal was with that. I think maybe he just got turned off by this holiday special, and people don't like Wookiees, but they do like teddy bears.
Yeah.
And we'll just... Yeah.
You know, sadly, I bet you that actually probably is the exact reason why that episode 6 has changed. I bet you it's one of those ones they just didn't want to remind anybody of that kind of stuff, other than the fact that Chewie's always still there. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know, the whole thing is disappointing, but because there's so many cool things they could have done with it, but it's just, if you've never seen it, it's on YouTube for free. We watched it,
Yeah.
Which is surprising. I am very shocked that Disney has not struck it down, because that's been there for a while. That video.
You know what? I bet you what Disney does is they collect the royalties from the commercials played during it on YouTube, and it's their secret way to make money off of it, but without really admitting to it. Because that's the thing. I bet you anything that video has a copyright strike on it, but then that money goes to Disney.
Yeah, probably. Because they did that to that guy who did that Vader short film, the Star Wars Theory guy. Mm-hmm. He made that short film. I don't know where it takes place in canon, but it's Vader versus Palpatine. And Vader tries to get away or something, and Palpatine punishes him, and it's this big thing. It was pretty cool. It wasn't my favorite thing I've ever seen, but it was neat. But he used just a morsel of actual Star Wars music. I mean, the most bare minimum thing. Because you are allowed to make fan films, but there's certain things you can't do. And because of that, they flagged his video, and they were going to collect the royalties from it until people just, went crazy.
Well, because that was the weirdest thing. Is I remember, in the olden days, before kind of pre-YouTube, it was just hey, as long as you don't use any more than 5 seconds of music, and if you don't have any footage being shown, and as long as it's a fan thing, as long as you're not collecting money for it, it pretty much used to say in the copyright that you could, as long as you weren't collecting money, you could pretty much do anything you wanted. And then YouTube came out, and then the downfall is that it's YouTube's collecting money, so now it's you're collecting money, even if you're not getting the money yourself, YouTube's collecting it, so now you get those copyright strikes. That's what makes it kind of goofy.
Yeah, I hate that. You can do this. You can keep this up, and we're going to make money off of it, but you can't have any because greed. That's really what it is. But speaking of greed, Star Wars Holiday Special. Bear with me while I look this up real quick, because I'm curious to know the ratings for this. Ratings for Star Wars Holiday Special. I'll jump back in a second.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I think it's. I mean, you probably you'd be pretty hard pressed to find somebody who goes man, I really like that holiday special. You know what I mean? I think maybe in kind of an ironic way, this sort of is this sounds weird. I feel if you just edited it down to maybe a straight half an hour, and just kind of kept all the more interesting things and took out the really weird stuff, especially the part in the bar when B. Arthur's pouring alcohol down that guy's skull.
Yeah.
Which sounds like very heavy metal, like as can be, but like it's just weird and confusing. Like if you just cut out all the weird stuff, because I'll even say like towards the end, like when Han Solo and Chewie finally show up, like I was getting more interested. I was like, oh god, here we go, And even though the scuffle and battle's kind of very minimal, it was still one of those ones. More of that, less of everything else, I think.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It just looking back in time, man, all the cool things they could have done, like, oh man, like tease a New Hope, like what happens to Vader, and he lands on this other planet, and you got this whole thing, and then we get this, man. It's just so disappointing, but it's this nice, interesting piece of Star Wars lore, especially this time of year when the holidays have kind of now become a de facto Star Wars time, because Force Awakens and Rogue One and all the movies have been, well, except for Solo, have been released.
They started switching it up after a while, but
yeah. And Mandalorian's kind of the holiday thing now, from Thanksgiving to Christmas kind of deal. So this feels like it would fit in perfectly into the current Star Wars thing, and it's just there, and you can't do anything about it, and it's just this bane of the existence of George Lucas. But hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do except us nerds sit here and talk about it? I guess.
I mean, it's those many of things that I always say in life. You can't complain about having more stuff. You know what I mean? Like, really, at the end of the day, can you complain about having an extra little goofy Star Wars thing to watch? No. You know what I mean? It's not like it was one of those ones like. It's weird. I think any Star Wars fan should definitely watch it because it's just so bizarre. I mean, even if you watched it in like, you didn't watch maybe the whole thing, but you just kind of watched even like a shortened up version of it or whatnot, and just like some of the more interesting scenes in it, like it is just like one of those ones like you just got to know.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if you really love Star Wars or you're interested in the history of how it's made and put together, I think it's very interesting from that that standpoint, because you could easily see how this would just kill the whole thing, and just made it culturally irrelevant or just some horrible gag. But somehow it survived it. I couldn't find the TV ratings for it, so it must have not been that great, because not enough people seen this to hurt the Star Wars machine. It's definitely been churning on. Now we're getting 472 shows on Disney Plus over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, even though I feel like those are going to get cut. You're going to think you're going to get all this stuff, and then they'll cut it down to about 1/3 of those.
Dude, I hope so. I hope so. There's just too much. Like, don't water it down. I want the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
I want that. And the Rogue Squadron movie sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, well, like, see, all that stuff sounds awesome, but I'm going to use this as my example. Is when DC started doing all their live-action shows, and you're like, oh, this is sick. It's like Arrow. It's like, okay, yeah, they're kind of tiptoeing their way into making it comic book-like, but each season would get deeper and deeper and deeper, and the next thing you know, it started feeling just like a comic book, and then they're like, oh, there's the Flash. But then after about that, it was like, then they just started doing more and more shows, and those ones are all like 24 episodes, 45 minutes, and I just got to the point where I was like, nope, done. It's too much to keep up with. I'm sorry, like, there's nothing wrong with the Arrow and the Flash. I totally enjoyed them, but like, I felt like overwhelmed, and then all the other ones, and so on. It's just like, that's my only kind of fear, as I hope Disney doesn't go like, oh, this Mandalorian has some money in it, let's really exploit it now.
Well, they are. They're going to do that, and they're going to water it down, because even the second half of the season of Mandalorian, I was slightly disappointed in, only because I was like, okay, it's getting fan servicey now. Now you're getting in. Now they're milking it, and I don't want to get into the spoilers for the last part of the season, even though everybody on Twitter probably knows. But it was still cool and interesting, and I thought it was great. I was overall an A rating, but I could see where it's going, and Star Wars just can't help itself, man. It just cannot. That money machine, whether Lucas is in control of it or somebody else, you're going to get stuff, and eventually you're going to get your big embarrassment out of that, just like the holiday special was, but except they're not going to be able to cover it up because it's going to be in canon and stuck there, just like the prequels are. You're like, we got to deal with it. It's there.
Well, so, I love the prequels. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, that wasn't a bash against prequels. That was more of a just, I know how Disney's team feels about it. Like, the Disney, the
Well, yeah.
Lucasfilm team. They're like, well, we got to acknowledge it somehow. It's there.
Because that's how I always feel. Like I always feel like every single time in Mandalorian, it's like good. We're getting a little bit of a prequel thing in there. Good. I need more of that. You know what I mean? More prequel stuff.
Dude, when the hell? And we'll get back on track and then end this thing up. But we'll just talk Star Wars for a minute. When the hell are they going back to Naboo, man? We need some Naboo. Now that we need. I'm all for some Naboo.
I want Naboo, like you know what I mean? Like I want pod racing back again. Give me a whole show on that. That'd be awesome.
Well, what's his name had a pod racing engine.
Yeah, he did. He had the Anakin's one too.
Yeah, was it Anakin's one?
It was.
Paying attention to that.
Because I saw that.
That was cool.
You know, because that's what I like is that there's been kind of more references in The Mandalorian to like the prequels because, you know, 7, 8, and 9 felt like they almost tried to exist without the prequels really even being around.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know, because I think that's the thing is like, you know, there's that wide range of Star Wars fans. I feel like there's the people that 4, 5, and 6 is their only movies and they'll never watch anything else and, you know, whatever. I almost don't even really consider that like a true Star Wars fan. I consider that like, you know, you should open your mind and kind of enjoy everything. You know, enjoy the games, enjoy the books, enjoy the different movies, enjoy the holidays and special. You know what I mean? You know, enjoy the prequels, even the new movies and so on. Because once you kind of just accept them for what they are, like they're all kind of fun in their own ways and so on.
They're all fun.
And I consider it all canon. In my book, the holiday special is canon. Chewbacca has a family out there and he just doesn't go home very often. That's all I know.
He's just a deadbeat dad. POS Wookiee. Yeah, it's you know the prequels are they're bad, but I like them, and that's the thing. Like you know it's the Rocky IV thing.
That's my favorite Rocky.
It's my favorite Rocky. Okay, so like this is why I get people on Twitter all the time. I argue about the prequels constantly on Twitter. It's my favorite thing to do. Like I know Rocky IV is terrible. It's half of it is we've talked about Rocky IV before. Half of it's a music video. It's essentially Ronald Reagan porn. It's like all these things. It's just this big popcorn flick. I fucking love it.
It's amazing.
I love it, but I know what it is. And for Star Wars, you can't do that. Like you have to think it's good, and it's okay if you think the prequels are good. I'm just saying, there's some people out there that like even. They don't believe they're good, but they want to believe they're good. So they fight with everybody about it. And they're like, no, you don't understand it. No, I get Jar Jar's poop jokes. They're just bad. But I still like it because it's Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's like
this I can't like.
That's like I always love telling people my second favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith because that one, people like, unless they're like prequel fans, that just sends them overboard.
You know, not anymore though. Revenge of the Sith, I see a lot of people say now that is always ranked really high.
Well, it's one of those ones like a lot of like my friends kind of growing up, they really like the prequels a lot. You know what I mean? It's like kind of they like won them over, and I noticed that people that really like the prequels have a hard time with 7, 8, and 9. like all the people that are hardcore prequel fans, like really like it's almost a hard sell to get them to even buy into 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, there's a big sequel versus prequel hate thing, and everybody's like, okay, the original trilogy is great, and then we're going to fight over here. Because that's part of culture now. You have Marvel versus DC, but you can't like both. It's stupid.
And I say, I love them all. The more I can have, the better.
I think the reason that there is animosity between those, because one, the prequels were bashed for so long. Mm-hmm. And they were shit on. For good reason, and I know eventually we're going to talk about the prequels. We'll go through all 3 of them, and we'll rate them. But the new ones come along, and I think what happened was just in a nutshell, not to go too deep into it. I think Disney overcorrected. They looked at what they thought went wrong with the prequels and said, "Well, George had too much control." And there was he was a singular vision and he didn't let enough people in. There wasn't enough creative balance. And he just was the, end all be all of all the creative energy. Mm-hmm. When the originals weren't like that. It was his vision, but other people brought things into it. With the sequels, what they did said, well, fuck it. We're just going to play a game of telephone. JJ's going to tell a story, and then Ryan's going to tell his story, and we'll find a way to make them work. And then by the third one, you don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
You just got to figure it out. And so it's just, They tried so hard not to be the prequels that they made something even more messy in a way. By the time it was over, I still think Force Awakens is the best movie outside of the. I like it better than Return of the Jedi personally.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Because Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars.
Yeah, you said that before. I understand Star Wars is like Indiana Jones. Like you could pick any of the first three.
Yeah, they're all solid.
Yeah, I can understand anybody's point of view on those. It's my least favorite of the three, but because I think we're in the same boat on Indy. Our least favorite is the other one's favorite.
I know because I like Temple of Doom, which is mostly the one that people are like, "What Temple of Doom?"
I love it. I love Temple of Doom, but it's my third favorite. But that's only because they're all three so great.
Yeah, that's just kind of how they are, and so on. And it's like with Star Wars 7, 8, and 9. I think once you sort of watch them and you don't go in there with because in a sense we all grew up with there was the books and the video games and all the spin-offs, so in your mind you had all this idea of okay, this is what the trilogy is supposed to be, and then it was completely different and it throws you off. And in my opinion, I still think it's all canon. We just have alternate Star Wars dimensions. That's it. You never read a comic book before?
Yeah.
Never been to the Mojo world and X-Men? Star Wars can have it too. So it's it's all canon. That's where the holiday specials canon and so on. But when you go back to 7, 8, 9 and you accept what they are and just be hey, this is how the movie is, this is how the story goes. And once you do that, you're they're pretty freaking good. 7 and 9, I really got nothing to complain about those two. I'm once I accept them for what they are, they're fun. I have a good time the whole way through. 8 just has those little bit of moments where when they go to Casino Town, that kind of drag on a little bit. But beyond that, and it's got the weird thing about 8 though is it just has weird jokes in there that are not in 7 and 9. And that's always the part I think that's the most oddest thing in that thing is there's these jokes that they're not bad jokes, they're just not Star Wars jokes.
Yeah, 8's very weird, and the problem with 8 is that it's always going to be compared to Empire, whether unfairly or not. It's the second one in the trilogy.
Yeah.
And
so it's compared to Clone Wars as well.
Yeah. And the problem with it is it tried to do what Empire did and introduce new characters. Except Empire introduced Palpatine, Yoda, Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett.
Holiday special
gives you and this movie, Episode 8, gives you Rose Tico and the purple hair lady who I can't remember all of a sudden.
The Laura Dern.
Whoever Laura Dern plays, whatever her name, General.
That's what I just think. It's just it's Laura Dern.
Yeah, Lord Dern, the purple hair lady. Yeah, and it's just this, and then Benicio del Toro and whatever the fuck he was doing, whatever.
It's okay, so a little too much character.
You don't get any good characters. It's literally the antithesis. It's the opposite. The Bizarro World Empire Strikes Back. It's but everything they did with Luke was good.
It's like that one of those movies.
I don't know, man.
I
don't know. I was ultimately really disappointed in the sequels as it wrapped up, because 9 is just, it kind of undermines the originals to an extent, I think. Because Palpatine's back. Well, what was Darth Vader for then? So I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's okay. No matter what, we still always have the classic books for the original 7, 8, and 9 that we grew up kind of knowing about the whole time. That's how I sort of feel. Those books and Luke Skywalker marries Mara Jade and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm fine with it. And they're actually slowly bringing some of that stuff into the new TV shows, because the Thrawn's already there, and they're bringing some of that stuff in. And I'll say this wrapping up. The last thing, my hope is when the prequels were done, I was very disappointed initially. But I had those done things. It's still Star Wars. I still loved it, but I was very disappointed just from a movie making standpoint, and didn't like where they were in canon. And then Clone Wars comes along. And even though it's a kid's show and I can't get into it all the time, really cool characters were brought in. Darth Maul was brought back. Ahsoka's created. Cad Bane. All these really cool characters are brought in. And it made the prequels better. That's why people love the prequels so much, because the Clone Wars, for a lot of people, has made it better. And I think where Mandalorian's going and some of these other newer shows that are going to be in that timeline, I think it's going to do that for the sequels. I think it's going to clear up some of that stuff, where the First Order came from, some Ben Solo stuff that we didn't get, some Luke adventures that we didn't get, and make that world richer. And I think it might end up making the sequels much better in the long run. That's my hope anyway.
Well, yeah, like what I would just love to see is almost like the in between I guess you would say 6 and 7 is that kind of like the original 7, 8, and 9 that we always kind of thought we were going to get, where it's like it's just a handful of years afterwards, and it's all about Luke, Chewie, Han, Leia. You know, how Leia becomes a Jedi, how Luke starts the Jedi Academy. I think hopefully they'll kind of find a way to build those kind of in there. I mean, geez, we're not really that far away that Mark Hamill could literally just play the CG version of Mark Hamill. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, he kind of, in some way, just did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, you could literally do that the whole way through, and like Mark Hamill could be literally like 30 years old, and he's played by 60-year-old Mark.
Yeah, or Sebastian Stan. He's got the blessing. And I don't know if you ever seen the side-by-sides where they put Luke Skywalker's hair on Sebastian Stan's face.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Dude, I'll send it to you in a second. Sebastian Stan looks just like Mark Hamill. It's weird.
And I'm totally fine with that too. Like, you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, I think. Well, there's that new show. I don't know if you saw it the other day when they announced all that stuff. It's called Rangers of the New Republic. Mm-hmm. And I have my mixed feelings about all the stuff that they're going to do, but this Rangers of the New Republic thing, they announced, I think it was maybe yesterday, that it takes place immediately after Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Like, that's where the show starts. And they announced this show after they showed Luke Skywalker at the end of The Mandalorian the other day. So I'm thinking, man, that is the show that's going to be the Clone Wars for the sequels. That's going to start that world.
Yeah. Kind of builds it up and so on. I don't know. There are so many great possibilities of like what can happen. I think like many things, you just give it time, and cool things will come.
Yeah, we'll see. We're getting a Lando show.
Yeah.
So getting whatever this Acolyte thing is, and then Patty Jenkins got a movie, so that's cool.
Yeah.
She's doing that Rogue Squadron movie, so maybe we'll get some cool video. Oh, and I don't know if you heard. You'll be happy about this. Mm-hmm. The rumor is nobody's officially announced this, but the whispers that are going around is that LucasArts is being started back up.
Really?
Now that I'm super psyched about.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's going to be a completely different team. They're just going to have the name, but
yeah.
Even still, if someone could kind of bring in some new magic that grew up playing all the LucasArts things, because that's the only thing about EA, sort of like when they had the Star Wars games, is like, and don't get me wrong, like the last couple Star Wars games that came out, I liked all those ones actually like way more than I thought I was going to. Like I liked even the Battlefront 2 was cool, the Squadrons was neat and so on like that. But the downfall is that it's like they have like a game like every 2 years. It's like, remember back in the glory days of like the prequels, you would get like 6 games a year. I mean, like, and that's probably maybe a little bit overkill, but the whole thing is like realistically, about 90% of those games are pretty darn good. Like even LucasArts, even if they threw out kind of a funky game, it still wasn't that bad of a game. It was still fun in some weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of really cool stuff they could do with all the new content that they're doing, a lot of different types of games, racing games. And that was what was fun about the old Star Wars games. It was a very eclectic mix of things.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your Rogue Squadron game that was almost like a Star Fox type situation, shoot 'em up thing. And then you got, your SNES games that were remakes of the movies, and all, Battlefront, the originals were really good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you had like the Pod Racer for racing. You had Shadows of the Empire. You know what I mean?
Shadows of the Empire, man, dude. That's what I want to get. I want that. I want a live action version of that.
I've been wanting that ever since that game came out, and so. And you know what was weird is, like, I know this is kind of still kind of off top, but we're still on Star Wars. Is the fact that Shadows of the Empire, when that kind of came out, that was almost like that point where you're like, well, I guess we're not really getting another Star Wars movie. I mean, I guess there was kind of the works of like the episode 1, but it was kind of that period where it's just like, episode 6 was done. Like, what more are we going to really get? And when that kind of came out, that was one of those ones where it was like, it was a big game. Then they had the book that tied into it. Then there was a comic book that went on. So it made it feel almost like you had a movie release, and just the way that the story was told and everything like that. You know, even though there wasn't a movie tie-in, it had all that stuff. It had the action figures and everything. I got like the original Dash Randar one. Not like it's really worth anything, but it's just like, let's do Dash Randar, you know. And then I just learned this recently, is that the PC version of Shao's the Empire from 1996 or whatever has full-on cutscenes in it. That's not in the N64 one.
Oh, I'm watching that as soon as I get off here.
Dude, I like the second I heard that, I was like, "What?" I bought it on Steam. I was like, "Dude, there's these." I mean, the rest of the game is pretty much about the same. I mean, it's clear because it's on a PC, but like, it's like, I mean, they're full on, really nicely, you know, for the time, rendered out CG cutscenes, voice acting, and everything. It just blew my mind. I was like, "Whoa!" Because you just used to get those standstill screens with the text on the N64.
Yeah, man.
So it's just one of those ones like I would love to see more of that, or just bring back Dash Randar in a sense. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know, that was such a cool character. I know you could say he's kind of a ripoff of Han Solo, but I just feel like, hey, he's just one of Han Solo's buddies. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, he's just another, you know, scoundrel in the galaxy. I mean, it's yeah. I think they're cherry picking little bits and pieces of the old EU. They call it now, Legends, whatever they call it.
The Legends universe.
Yeah, they're cherry picking things that worked and they liked, and slowly integrating that into the current thing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of different things come along. So we'll see where it goes. But I mean, maybe a Darth Revan some more down the line. This new High Republic thing looks really weird. They're doing it's going to have Yoda in it, but be a lot younger.
Like Yoda when he's like a teenager.
It's the High Republic. Yeah, well, not that young, but it's like I want to say it's 200 years before A New Hope is when they say it was. Yeah, and so a series of books are coming out for that, and then that new Acolyte show that's coming out ends. It's like the end of the High Republic, and so it's 50 years before A New Hope.
Yeah, okay.
So whatever that show is going to be. So I have a feeling you'll get some like early Palpatine in it, maybe. Or whatever his name was for that. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things to be done.
But anyway, I'm glad this evolved into a real Star Wars discussion, and we covered a lot of different bases.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing, is the holiday special, no matter what, in its weird, goofy way, it puts a smile on your face. And kid you not, it makes you want to just go watch and play and read more Star Wars. It doesn't turn me away from it.
No, it's one of those things where, you know, you can hate it and love it at the same time, at least for me.
Yeah.
You know, and complain about it and wish certain things were better. I definitely wish certain things were better. But it's such a big world to get into, and man, we're so lucky to have something like. I wish there were more
Christmas
things
specials
that were. Well, no, not more Christmas specials. No,
like
the two that we have is more than enough. But I wish there were more universes that were this deep and rich. I mean, really all you have are the comic universes, Star Wars, Star Trek, and in terms of deepness, that's just...
Yeah.
And really as far as you go, I've heard that Last Airbender is kind of like that, but I don't know anything about it, so...
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say, like, I don't know if it's as deep as, like, say, Star Wars, but then again, it's not nearly as old. It's only 10 years old or what has, kind of, maybe a little bit older than that, but not by much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's always those ones, you know, the certain ones. I guess, you know... It's like Dragon Ball Z, I guess, is like another one. It's, you know, when you got like 800 plus episodes, plus movies, plus, you know, all kinds of other fun stuff and games, you know. But something about Star Wars is that it's like almost like the fact that it sort of comes from one man who made this kind of ginormous empire when you really think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've been begging my brother to watch Empire of Dreams, the whole documentary thing.
Uh-huh.
And I think he really needs to, because I think he'll really, really like that. And it's crazy that one guy just thought of this, wrote it down in the notebook, and then nobody thought it was going to be anything. They thought it was going to be a bust. Now it's just, despite all the setbacks, despite holiday specials, now it's just multi-bajillion-dollar thing. He's worth billions of dollars, and now Disney's making billions of dollars. And, you know.
Well, it's like nobody would have thought the guy who made THX was going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? I think everybody watched that movie as like, he spent how much money and how many years putting this together? Like,
Yeah.
Francis, what were you thinking? You call this guy your friend?
Yeah. Look, thank God for American Graffiti. We wouldn't have got any of this if it wasn't for American Graffiti. We would have got nothing.
I know George Lucas totally owns American Graffiti, but it's like you kind of expect to see that thing like okay, we got all these Star Wars sequels, and there's a Willow, and there's a new Indiana Jones. Like, it'd be funny if they just had like American Graffiti too.
There is an American Graffiti too.
Is there? Is this George Lucas? Like, is this one of these?
I don't know.
Because I remember when George Lucas got all the Star Wars money and said he was just like, I'm just gonna go make movies for me because everybody else is a fucking asshole. Understandable. Like, he just wants to go do his thing. Like, I bet you he's just making the coolest movies ever, though. You know what I mean?
Dude, we're gonna see that after he's dead, and it's gonna be. I'm scared, actually. They're gonna release that stuff, and it's gonna either be just. It's gonna be super controversial because he's like, I'm dead. Like, don't say what you want. I have a feeling it's gonna be like the Mein Kampf of.
You know what he'll probably be? He'll probably have a clause in his will like Mark Twain did, where he's like, okay, 100 years after it's been since I died, release my collection.
Yeah.
So that's what Mark Twain did. He's like, after the 100th year anniversary of my death, you could release my autobiography.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the kind of cool thing is literally the town away from me was where they the book premiere was at.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was like, in Angels Camp. That's where they had the book premiere. Angels Camp, California.
Oh my gosh, dude, our new goal as of whenever George dies, our new goal is to live long enough to see the secret Lucas films. They've been locked in a vault for 30, 40, 50 years. Like, damn, I just got to live long enough to see what was on there. And then we see it. We're like, oh, that was some racist shit.
Well, that's what there's going to be like a Fanboys 2 where now they got to break into the vault to see what George Lucas made.
Dude, you should write that script right now. I'll help you. Dude, by the way, real quick, More American Graffiti is a sequel.
Oh, More American Graffiti.
I don't know. It's got, Ron Howard's in it. It looks like it's about all the same people. But I don't know anything about it.
I would totally see that movie. I don't know what that movie would be if Ron Howard's still. I really want to be like he's like literally the characters are all playing teenagers, but they're all like 70 years old.
Yeah, it's 1979. It's got a 44 Metascore. Yeah, and it's got Bo Hopkins, Ron Howard, Candy Clark, Mackenzie Phillips, Cindy Williams. So it's got a lot of the same people in it. So maybe we should do at some point in time soon American Graffiti and then More American Graffiti.
Wait, is that already out?
What, More American Graffiti, the sequel? Yeah.
What?
1979.
Oh, More American. Oh, okay. Never mind. I know what I thought you were talking about a brand new one. And I was like, I thought you said it took place in 1979. I totally spaced out, though, that there was that one. Who directed it? Obviously, it wasn't George Lucas, I don't think. I think he might have produced it, though. Director
Bill Norton.
Yeah.
And the writer's Bill Norton, and based on characters created by George Lucas. And then this Willard Hutt guy who has the biggest forehead I've ever seen.
Huh.
I'm just saying.
I'm totally down for watching that one. It's been a long time since I watched American Graffiti, and that American Graffiti, once again, a town just about an hour away from me, is where that movie takes place at, even though it's shot in Marin.
Yeah, well, so you're probably not that far from Skywalker Ranch, then, probably.
No, it's like maybe a little over 2 hours away. My buddy was going to get he almost got a job as a firefighter at Skywalker Ranch, and I was like, dude, why did you get that? That would have been amazing. He's like, yeah, but probably nothing would happen there. I'm like, well, that's even better, it sounds like.
Yeah, no. Well, actually, funny story, we'll wrap this up. I don't know all the details on this, but so this is the brilliant. You'll have to look this story up to find the details I missed, but I'm getting really close to the idea of it. But something burned down at Skywalker Ranch. I want to say this is like a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And it was like one of his studios, and he was going to have it rebuilt because he was going to premiere one of his films there. and have his friends over, and that's where they were going to probably have the ILM people come in there and watch stuff and different things like that. So it was probably like an important part of the property. Burns down. He's like going to rebuild it. In the county's like, no, we don't want more things being built because we like the pristine nature of this thing and yada yada yada. So he buys this plot of land really close to the city limits that weren't in there, that they had no jurisdiction over, and he was going to build low income housing on it. and he was like, yeah, I'm just going to move some low income people in here. So then they caved and gave him what he wanted. Like, that's the most asshole thing I've ever heard of, but kind of brilliant.
You know what? I almost feel that just sounds great, because you just sometimes think of the people of Marin County. They're not always the most friendly of folks. So, you know what? I feel like they deserved it.
Cool. He definitely played one up on him. If I was him, I would have said, okay, thanks, guys, and then built the low-income housing anyway. It's just a giant fucking, even more so, he's got his studio, and now he's got yeah, that's what he should have done. He might have.
That would have been ingenious. That would have been amazing. Ooh, get the party going there if your lights.
Light show went off, but anyway, I'm creeping up on 1 a.m. here on the East Coast.
Yeah, you're getting late there. So, well, next time you come out, we'll hit all the George Lucas places. You can go see the American Graffiti statue in Modesto.
Oh, dude, I want to, man. I would see that kind of stuff. I want to do so bad, honestly. That's where he's from, right?
Yeah, he's from Modesto, California.
Yeah, because I know that's supposed to be kind of like a homage to his youth. Not a true story, but like an homage from his youth. So, yeah, so there we go. I got a trip to go out there to see some American Graffiti stuff and maybe sneak on the Skywalker Ranch and get kicked off. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll take you to the burnt down location of Back to the Future 3.
Yes. Ooh, I want to do that so bad. Oh my God, you have no idea. Like, yeah, I'll sneak on the stuff. I'll get it, I'll get a slap on the wrist to, I'll get into a little bit of trouble to go see some cool stuff.
We'll go to all the Western stuff. You can go, ride on the train that was in Unforgiven.
Oh man. See, yeah, you got cool stuff out there. Here you have some cool movies out here. North Carolina is probably, other than California, New York, North Carolina might be third in terms of, because Screen Gems was here for so long, but we don't have as many cool stuff. You're never a stone's throw away for something super cool.
Yeah.
Like you are in California. I feel like you always have cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, the part where I'm at, it's pretty much the majority is all Westerns and olden day Westerns.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's nothing like that here. Like, the coolest thing in North Carolina probably is the bus from The Fugitive, the train wreck in The Fugitive that was in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And like, everybody's like, "Oh, did you ever go see The Fugitive bus?" Like, it's literally just this carcass, this shell of this old bus just like laying there beside a train track. It's so sad.
It's always so weird when they just leave stuff like that. Like that's what I always think about. It's just like that stuff just gets left there.
But in North Carolina, it's such a big deal. They put it like on Google Earth. So like I'm dead serious. Like, so it's like when you're looking for certain things, like, oh, Days of Thunder Barn, or like Fugitive bus crash, like, and it's on Google Earth. Oh my God, it's hilarious. This sleepy little place. It's not anymore, but it was. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode on the Star Wars Holiday Special that evolved into our thoughts on Star Wars as a whole. We could have actually turned this into a two-parter. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be opposed to that at some point, kind of picking up on some Star Wars stuff and making a special episode about it. But thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Obviously, links down below. You can find all kinds of cool stuff for VIA VHS and everything Spencer's doing with Old Man Orange and Pizza Boys. Go to oldmanorange.com. I'm not trying to take your thunder, but just saying there's links down below.
That's what works for me. It's the simple and easy.
Yeah. Just go check out the links, and that's all there. Heading into 2021, I think I discussed on one of the episodes, my goal is to try to get episode out every week. I want to try to hit all 52 or 50, however many fucking weeks there are in a year. I can't remember.
We'll figure it out once the year's over.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll just count how many episodes there was. It's like, oh.
Yeah. we did it, or we didn't do it. But yeah, we're going to try to get through this year and try to get a whole lot of content out. So we're going to be bouncing around and doing all kinds of interesting stuff. So stay tuned for that. By the time you hear this, I think everything should be a go. I think you should be able to see. We're on all the podcasting platforms now, so that's a go. I've got as I say this, I've got Cutthroat Island up, so I know the podcasting feeds are working. I know YouTube's working, so everything's ready. So 2021 will be a big year, tons of content. Get ready for that. But and then go watch the holiday special. If you're a glutton for punishment, it's free. It's free entertainment. Free Star Wars.
Yeah. And it's
You
fun.
know Star Wars is free.
You know what I mean? Some people might have to have a couple of drinks with it or something like that. But, it's one of those ones, you just get you and your best buddy over and you have a hell of a time.
Yeah, definitely something you want to watch with friends. It's definitely better. I
literally just watched it by myself like an insane person.
Me too. Me too. We honestly should have just live streamed it. We should have just sat down and found a time to watch it together and just live streamed it and been like, what the hell is this? We could have done that because it's already on YouTube.
It would have been that hard to do. You know what I mean?
I will. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. Check us out pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts, everywhere you can find YouTube, and on Twitter at VIA VHS, on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes.
That's correct.
Yeah, I need to put that in the links too. But anyway, thanks for listening, and VIA VHS is out.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comic Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comic Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunnigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.